Raucous in the house. Okay, we are going to open the finance meeting. Welcome, everyone. It is February 21st, almost spring, 6 p.m. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. How about Councilmember Kennedy?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll do a quick roll call. Councilmember Gully?
Here.
Councilmember Parator?
Here.
Councilmember Cummings?
Here.
Councilmember December?
Present.
Councilmember Kennedy?
Present.
Council President Mantello here. We have 6 folks. We have a quorum, and we'll go right into the finance agenda. We'll open it up. Would anyone like to speak on anything on this evening's agenda? You'll have 5 minutes, and we would ask that you state your name and address. Okay, we'll close the public hearing forum. We'll go right into the local laws. Local Law 1, a local law amending the charter of the City of Troy, Section C-48, authorizing the payment of eligible delinquent taxes in 2 installments. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion. Just for folks who are out there, once again, this is a local law amending the charter to allow folks who owe back taxes to pay their taxes, and I am being flagged by Mr. Caruso. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, however did you know?
Thank you.
I have some interesting news. Contrary to what I thought, I actually heard back from the Attorney General's office.
They did
They
get back to us this quickly.
Yes.
I'm shocked.
Catherine Sheingold called me last week, and I was pleasantly surprised. Her initial conclusion was there's no issue of law for them to issue an advisory opinion on. She said to me that the City of Troy absolutely has the right to pass a local law that is retroactive in effect in nature. She concurred with me 100%. It's always nice to be right. That laws are always prospective unless they specifically say they are retroactive. This law specifically says it's retroactive. And so what her opinion was, there's nothing to prohibit the City of Troy from doing just this.
Okay. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Mr. Caruso. Thank you very, very much. And, just so folks are aware how that transpired, I just wanted to make sure that we could retroactively do a local law. So that is good news. I mean, obviously, it's, I believe, about $140,000. So, certainly that's good news. I would just ask in the future when the administration finds out that, let us know as soon as you find out, because it took probably, a couple of months by the time we found out to do the local law. So if you could just email us, however you want to, just contact us, let us know when you realize that, there's an error or whatever. Okay? So we have a motion, we have a second, we have discussion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this will be on the March agenda, and we have one more public hearing, and we'll be doing that the evening before the March meeting. Okay? Ordinance 12, ordinance amending the capital projects fund and debt service fund budgets. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Ordinance carries 6-0. Ordinance 13, ordinance amending the 2019 general fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. Andy, The 75K consultant, I tried digging through the budget. What exactly is that for? Yeah, I see parking, but,
Yeah, that's the payment that the city makes annually to FBS. They administer, the whole hosting site for the parking tickets. It's where all the accounts receivable are stored, payments are recorded into. The city procured their services, I believe, in 2016. Historically, it's been paid out of the revenue line because it's a percentage of revenue collected. It should have been corrected previously. We're just cleaning things up now
Okay.
and getting things in accordance. So you can now see the total gross revenue from parking fines, and then the expenditure line will be separate.
okay. Thank you, Andy. And FPS, when does their contract expire? Do you have?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, if you could take a look, I was just curious. I think we went 3 years with them. I'm not sure, but thank you. Did anyone else have any questions on the transfers or materials, supplies, ERT? That's pretty straightforward. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 13 carries 6-0. Ordinance 14, ordinance authorizing and directing sale by the proposal sale method of city-owned real property. Council President Vantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Can we talk about these? Were there any red flags that any of you saw? I saw that the 307 Congress, that's green space right now. Were there any concerns given that up? Or was there discussion? Yeah, it's an adjacent neighbor, so I didn't see any issues with that. Any others? The Fifth Ave property?
Yeah, so Functions then been on probably 20 properties.
I saw that.
I don't know how many exactly. Sorry. Can you hear me now? And so, yeah, we discussed it and decided on one to sort of give us a trial, and obviously if he turns out to be a good partner for the city, then we'll keep working with him on other properties. But this was one that was recommended by code enforcement as a decent option.
Okay, the Roosevelt Ave was I forget how many proposals was with that one. The vacant land,
Yeah, so-
council member.
Before we move on, before we move on from that property we just discussed, he says that he owns multiple properties in the capital region. Were we able to?
There were two that we
Are
were-
properties in the city of Troy, or are they properties?
I
that moved
believe there
around?
may be one other from private sale in the city of Troy and a couple, that we did look at. It seemed like not particularly remarkable, but no major problems, no major red flags there.
Okay.
And then in terms of the Roosevelt Ave one, that again is an adjacent property owner. There was some discussion. It's also adjacent to the property we sold last month to the Lansingburg Little League. But this is a property that this purchaser is actually already basically using as her driveway and pool. So it's been a Herculean effort and a good one by our assessor to get her to be willing to buy it and take that on for herself. So I think it'll be a good solution. I don't think it affects the ability of the Little League to do what they're doing. So.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ordinance 14 carries 6-0. Ordinance 15, ordinance authorizing and ratifying employment contract for the fire chief of the city of Troy Fire Department. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion, Andy, do you mind just quickly giving a quick synopsis? Or the mayor, whoever would like. Seems to me, it appears to be a good contract, Mayor.
It appears the same to me. So just some background on this. I don't know if I included it in the memo and support, but with the retirement of Chief Garrett, the position of fire chief comes out of the bargaining unit. So he becomes a non-represented employee. Which means that we should have an employment contract both to protect the city and to protect the person in that position. So this contract, was modeled after the police chief's contract. We looked at similar criteria. What comparable chiefs are, well, of course, there's no comparable chief in the capital region, but comparable positions in the capital region and experience. Plus the benefits that the chief had accrued under his prior contracts, and tried to create a distance between himself and those that he would be supervising. So that's the tact we took.
Okay, yeah, and it looks like no overtime.
No, in these contracts, in these positions, there is no overtime or comp time. However, any overtime, comp time, bonus time, vacation time that was accrued prior to this appointment would remain on the books, and it would be theirs to, both in this case and the police chief, it would be theirs to use as they see fit.
Awesome. Did council members have any questions for the mayor? I just want to welcome Eric on board, and I'm sure other council members are thrilled to have you as our fire chief. Hopefully you'll reinvigorate our fire department. They have lots of enthusiasm, passion, and dedication, and I'm sure that you'll move it forward very appropriately. And so I wish you all the best, Eric. Thank you. All right, further discussion? Good contract, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 15 carries 6-0. Or, resolution 14, resolution amending the appointments of members of standing committees of the City Council. Council President Mantello, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Parator, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy. I'm chuckling because our colleague here, Councilmember Gully, is going to be very busy, and I want you to know when I was the only minority member, I was on all committees as a voting member. So I hope that you can make all the meetings. It's a huge task.
Don't plan anything between March 8th and March 20th. I will not be there. All right? You can do whatever you want on any other day.
Good luck. Further discussion?
Council
We're
President,
gonna be
Yes.
fine.
Councilmember Parator.
I have a proposed language change.
Okay.
The second line, the word chairman, I propose it be chairperson or simply chair.
Should be.
It should be. Gender neutral. Mara can make that change. Okay, perfect. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, resolution 14 carries 6-0. Congratulations, Councilmember Gully. All right, resolution 15, a resolution authorizing the deputy mayor to execute a contract with River Street Planning. I am going to ask, first we'll take a motion, second, then I'm going to have to ask for an amendment to develop a new zoning ordinance. We need to strike out conduct. So it will say to develop a new zoning ordinance. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy. Discussion. So that is on the original. I'll make a motion to strike conduct. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember December, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. So read now without the word conduct. And Steve, I have a couple questions on this. Oh, yeah, the amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Steve, just a couple quick ones. You know, as you know, the original comprehensive plan, I think a lot of us had major concerns with it, et cetera. It didn't really flow the way we wanted to see it. You ended up actually rewriting a huge portion of it, went back out into the neighborhoods, thankfully, cleaned it up, $1 million toward the original comp plan. You know, I guess the big thing on this, I mean, I understand the zoning is to try to jive with the comp plan. There's a number of things in the comp plan that we all know may not see the light of day. So,
Right.
you know, my first question is, what is really driving this? And then secondly, when you overhaul like zoning, isn't there usually specific zoning, you know, that we're looking to target to put into the zoning? And
So-
then, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so the things you're talking about that will never happen really don't have any impact based on the zoning. What the zoning will do, it looks at the proposed uses in different areas. There were the major development areas, there were the commercial quarters. So basically this will jive with what the comprehensive plan says, but it doesn't really have any impact on those major issues, like we said. So
What are we like looking to change though? I mean.
there's
like,
a number of things, okay.
Council President, sorry.
Yeah.
Instead of diving too deep into, like the purpose and overall, how this is gonna be carried out, my intent was to have a planning committee meeting, prior to the March 7th meeting. I was gonna ask for a presentation on, you know, a little bit more detail rather than asking, one-off questions, but if we could keep it somewhat light in an overview and maybe just keep it strictly to the financial aspects of the contract and how you arrived at the person that you arrived at, and we can give a broader overview of what the actual contract seeks to achieve at the planning committee meeting on March 7th, which precede the council meeting.
What time are you looking to have it? The planning,
There probably 6 p.m.
6?
on March.
I mean, in terms of specifics, for me, you know, to vote on it tonight, and this is why I'm asking these questions, obviously, we put a lot of money into the comp plan. A majority of it, granted, was grants and the Troy Redevelopment Foundation. I understand the 200 here is the Troy Redevelopment Foundation, and half of it is a grant. And I didn't expect you to like knee deep, and I would love to have Margaret actually come and talk about what she's trying to do. But, you know, for me to vote on it tonight, I just want to know bigger picture.
So
What's driving
well,
and
the bigger picture is to clean up the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance, there's two pieces. There's the language of the zoning ordinance, and then there's the actual map. So this will do both, okay? And the language of the ordinance it's vague, it's outdated. A lot of it is suburban in nature, you know, or developed in the middle of the last century, basically, when all these great planning ideas really didn't pan out the way they should have, you know, wider streets, bigger setbacks. So this will make it more urban where it's appropriate, and yet respecting the suburban areas up on the hill. So it'll take care of the language. And again, the language is vague. You can never get the answer you want. The definitions aren't there. And there's way too many zoning districts. But again, the consultant will look at all that. They will analyze the variances that have come in over the past 20 years, whatever we have on record here, basically, to look at where there are too many variances, why a tattoo parlor always needs to get a use variance to go into a commercial district, those type of things. So there's a lot of reasons. That's what it'll take care of. As far as the selection now, so we received 3 bids, and you can see the pricing there. And we went out and we got 3 members of the community as well to partake in this, just because one of them was River Street Planning, and I wanted to a good cross section of the community. We had Adam Smil, and I'm never going to forget his name. It's him, Adam from the Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandra Rouse, and Chris Nolan from RPI. So and it was absolutely unanimous selection of River Street Planning. The most expensive one got the lowest rating. River Street got the highest rating by far. And upon checking some of the references, they also received the highest rating on the references. Or they received the highest references.
And I'm familiar with Margaret's work in River Street Planning. They do very good work.
And they did my zoning ordinance in my previous job too. And
that was my next question. Yeah. I was aware of planning and, charrettes and things like that. I wasn't sure if they would have to sub the zoning, but they do.
They do a lot of it, and
themselves.
they do, and they have a lot of subs too that are extremely qualified to undertake this.
Also, there wasn't a timeline in the contract.
It's about a year. I mean, in the
2020 April, but.
Well, that's anticipated to take about a year. That's what the RFP requested. We want it to take about a year. So April is probably about a year from when we'll get kicked off here.
Okay, and then my last thing, Steve, was in the termination clause, you'll see either party could terminate 30 days prior. What if, like, say, something happened? I mean, God forbid, something happened because they're a small company, somebody got ill, whatever. Shouldn't we have a clause in there to protect us? Because it says, you'll see, hold on one sec. Bear with me. I looked at it earlier today, but the clause reads that either party may terminate the agreement with 30 days written notice sent by certified mail. Shouldn't we have, and I don't know, maybe a Jim Caruso.
And I can have Jim review that. I mean, the resolution calls for insubstantial conformance with the contract. So if we need to make a correction here or there, that can certainly be done.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
Council President, maybe to your point,
yeah.
and if we were to amend that specific section to state that, as agreed to by both parties or accepted by both parties. But I think to protect against or mitigate any risk of what you're mentioning, the actual structure of payments are based on deliverables. And so that actual payment structure and how we pay out based on what we receive, the work we receive, will reduce our exposure in whatever you're imagining if there's a possibility of cancellation.
Yeah, I just would like to see a little more protection on the 30-day. Maybe Jim could take a look at that. I don't know. There's got to be some type of standard language. It just seems kind of bland. And
I think that is,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I think that is fairly standard language for contracts like this, but yeah.
And did anyone else have any questions? Councilmember Gus?
Chair. So I see in here, and I agree, you say these are standard contracts, but it must be just municipal contracts. Because it says in here that the amount earned by River Street will become due within 30 days of the submission of the completed invoice for approved services presented. Most of the times when I do business with outside companies, they get a piece up front, a piece when 50% of the work is accomplished, and then they get a piece at the end when they've completed their project. So they're still earning along the way. And there's also been penalties in there for companies that go overboard and extend out their work without results. There's been I've worked on the contracts where I get penalized $1,000 a day for every day I'm late.
Well, I think to our advantage, we're not paying anything up front. We just pay as they go, basically. I'm sure we will receive them.
You pay here in full 30 days after the submission of the completed invoice.
Of the completed invoice. The invoice.
Well, so then completed invoice is not a completed job.
No, it's a completed invoice.
Right.
So the tasks that are done that
They do work.
So it is going to be broken down and paid as they complete the work.
Right, and they'll have 10%, 50%. They'll usually have that broken down.
There is notations in there for that type. I'm just going to protect it. And something will blow wax. You never know what you're gonna get at the end. You give them a part of it, you know you're gonna get what you got.
Okay. And, I do appreciate obviously having the deputy mayor sign. And I know that the mayor got an opinion from the ethics
Right.
board prior for that. Any further discussion? Okay. Before the vote, I am going to support to move it to the regular meeting. One last question. When was the last zoning? Was it under Tetonja?
I think it was in the,
Was
I think it was in the
before?
80s. It was before
It was
the
in the
dungeon.
80s.
It was done by Arnie Pier when he had the planning commission, that would have been in the 80s.
Oh, geez.
They didn't
Okay.
spot, but what you're thinking of is the spot zoning for Hoosick Street
Yeah,
and the
the
waterfront
overlay.
district.
Yeah, there's been a
That
couple
was done
updates.
So there's been a couple of those, but not.
And that was just
complete.
spot. Correct.
Okay,
Not complete.
okay, all right. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Did anyone else have any questions before we talk about referring it? Okay. I guess we'll take a vote. I was just going to move it to the March meeting, but if you want to refer it to planning first, that's fine.
I don't know if we need to have the contract itself reviewed, but maybe the project as a whole.
Okay, so you'll have a planning meeting just to talk about the project. We'll move, when this is voted on, we'll move it to the March meeting. Okay. Any further discussion? Steve, thank you. Anything you wanted to add or?
No,
Okay.
that was it. Looking
Okay.
forward to getting started.
All right, cool. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, resolution 15 carries 6-0, and Councilmember Kennedy, let us know about the planning. That's a good idea.
I will follow up after this meeting. The other item on the agenda for the planning committee meeting would be a climate smart community status.
Okay, very good, very good. Resolution 16, as the sponsor, I'm going to withdraw. Okay? And then we'll go, where's our Commissioner Deeds? Oh, thank you. Okay, any further discussion before we close? Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, if, let's see, we have 2 minutes.
We do.
We do, 6:28.
Close.